days.
Yeah, Fox Weather Storm Specialist Mike Seidel joining us live from Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, in the Outer Banks OBX of North Carolina. That mandatory evacuation, Mike, is going to be critical for Dare County. As Stephen mentioned, we've got the Outer Banks, Kitty Hawk, all the way down towards Buxton and Frisco, throughout Hatteras Island. Those impacts as early as tomorrow. I had heard from one of our producers that behind you, because it is relatively quiet, you saw some folks doing yoga a second ago on the beach.
Yes, we've got a big yoga class going on. They were in the sand, Marissa. Now they've moved out to the surf. What a great way to take your yoga class, not in a studio somewhere in the middle of nowhere or like the middle of a city. But back here on the beach, we've got the surf up. These are generally about 3 to 4 footers. That's the buoy reports significant wave heights, which is the top third of the highest waves. And we'll be using that term quite a bit this week as we talk about all that wave energy coming into the coast, not only here, as Brian mentioned, from Florida, all the way up to the Jersey Shore and the South Shore, Long Island. Out there right now with these clean sets, we've got a couple surfers, and they're having a pretty good morning because these sets are cleaned up. It's not a big wash tub right now, and the winds are very, very light with the sun out. We're going to have another warm, humid, sticky day here on the Outer Banks. Let's talk about the mandatory evacuation for Hatteras Island. That's not here where we are, Kitty Hawk, Nags Head, Kill Devil Hills. It's for Hatteras Island. That's from Oregon Inlet south. Let me show you the video I shot last night. We took a little plane ride down towards Hatteras Island. This is Rodanthe. Now, you've heard about Rodanthe in the past. Well, there's the movie. There's also the fact that we've lost houses right on the coast. And that is the S-curve. This opened 3 years ago to eliminate the issues they had on that stretch of Highway 12, which is extremely vulnerable to ocean overwash. And as the Weather Service has mentioned, it's going to be obvious this highway is going to be shut down for at least several days. So that's why the mandatory evacuation for visitors, tourists, kicks in at 10 a.m. this morning for Hatteras Island. That includes Buxton, north to Avon, Salvo, Rodanthe, Frisco, those areas, those towns on that narrow strip of land. And then you get down to Hatteras Island, there's a little bit more width, but still, 12 is going to go underwater. That's almost a guarantee. The S-curve came in, and that eliminated that stretch near Pea Island, but now you have the rest of 12 south of Oregon Inlet that's still very susceptible. When you have this kind of hurricane, even though it's not making a direct hit, just the sheer size of it and the swell, by the way, swell or waves that propagate away from the hurricane and arrive first, and we'll start to see those, I think, tomorrow and tomorrow night. The real days here for concern are going to be Wednesday and certainly into Thursday with the highest wind gust. Let's show you the surf from yesterday. This is Kitty Hawk yesterday afternoon, and a beautiful late afternoon. Actually shot this about 4 p.m. yesterday here at Kitty Hawk, and some folks in the water. By the way, water temperature is 80 degrees, so it's plenty warm. Your peak temperatures in the surf usually occur this time of the year, up and down the East Coast and Gulf Coast. As we reported earlier in the season, the water temperatures are already in the upper 80s back in June around Clearwater and over on the east coast of Florida. Meanwhile, as far as the forecast goes, no problems today or tomorrow as far as wind and rough surf, although the surf's going to be getting rougher, I should say, tomorrow. Today, just be mindful of the rip current increasing. There is a rip current statement out for the Outer Banks down towards the coast, down towards Morehead City, those areas. Also, high surf advisory has kicked in. This and these will all stay in effect at least through Thursday night. So this is going to be the kind of week you have. Is it going to rain? It may not even rain at all. We're going to have sunshine at least tomorrow and Wednesday. So great beach days, but if you're on a guarded beach, more than likely many of these guarded beaches are going to keep you out of the water or no deeper than, say, your ankles. I've seen this before, and it will probably happen again. Where I'm standing here at Kitty Hawk, this is an unguarded beach, so be extra, extra careful going in beyond your knees, especially starting tomorrow. And by Wednesday and Thursday, it's going to be one of these photo ops where we're going to have these massive waves crashing here. We'll be showing those to you live here on Fox Weather. So Stephen and Marissa, just getting underway here on a beautiful late summer morning, late August morning. Kids going back to school today in this area, so that cuts down on some of the activity on the beaches, but there's a lot of folks in town. I was passing cars yesterday morning, planes from New York, New Jersey, Maryland, coming down here to get their week of vacation in between now and next weekend. So the weather, as far as sensible weather, isn't going to be that bad. It's just the fact that the Atlantic is going to be off limits unless you're going to put your life really in danger, especially as we get into Wednesday and Thursday.
I mean, and the reality is, right, it could have been so much worse, right? We could have had landfall, and we're not going to have to deal with that. But I think, yeah, not underestimating the ocean. I was looking at a Facebook thing, Mike, a mom's chat, so to speak. I don't talk on it, but I watch the discussions. And somebody posted they had a house rented in the Outer Banks for this week, but because of the evacuations, they can't even access the house. So obviously, it's disruptive.
Now I want to show you how wide the beach is. We have a fairly good grade, and there's the very high dune line between the water and the properties, the condos, the apartments, the hotel. So we've got a lot of room to work with, but will that be enough? We'll have to see how it goes. High tide coming back in. It's low tide about 9:30, high tide 4:30. And as Brian mentioned, high tide Thursday evening, also Thursday morning, along up and down the Outer Banks. So those will be the high tides of concern on Wednesday. To see what happens here, we know 12 is going to be covered with water. We've seen that time and time again with storms of a weaker magnitude. You don't need a direct hit, Marissa, to get impacts on Highway 12. We see that in the winter with nor'easters, and that's going to happen again, unfortunately. Thus, the mandatory evacuation for tourists, 10 a.m. today, and for locals, residents, 10 a.m. on Tuesday.
And those alerts from the National Weather Service office go until Friday. So we've got them from Tuesday until Friday. This is a prolonged thing.
Yeah, a very large system that's going to continue to stir things up through the week. Mike, appreciate that update. Fox Weather Storm Specialist Mike Seidel out of Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. We have Fox Weather Storm Specialist Mike Seidel joining us from Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, in the Outer Banks. It is a gorgeous day. You know, I mean, today alone, I think is going to be why people tend to vacation to the Outer Banks this time of year. But it will be very noticeable, Mike, within the next 48 hours especially, that we have this very large hurricane offshore.
Yes, indeed. We think that swell will start arriving later tomorrow, Tuesday. And the days that we're really going to take a battering here, Wednesday and certainly Thursday, with the closest approach. But again, as Brian mentioned, it's really not so much the wind, it's the wave action and how big the surf zone is going to be. We've got the heavy surf advisory up from 10 a.m. and through Thursday into Friday. And the Weather Service is saying 15 to 20 footers here in the surf zone. Like right here on camera, we'll be able to show you those live on Fox Weather and Fox News through the week. And they'll start rolling in on Wednesday into Thursday. And then we're concerned with high tides. The high tides Thursday are roughly morning around sunrise and then early evening. Right now we're going out to a low tide, a slack tide, and that is about 9:30 this morning. Next tide 4:15. And you can see how high the water gets at high tide. We've got a pretty good gradient up the hill here. Good morning, ma'am. Enjoying the weather? We see the high tide earlier this morning got up to here. We still have a lot of beach, and we have some elevation, and we have the dunes here are very, very impressive. These are very strong dunes. They got fences, they got the grass. But when you're talking about big waves, 15, maybe 20 footers, and then the push of water, it's going to be interesting to see what we have as far as impacts on the dune and on the properties as we get into Wednesday night and Thursday. Very concerned there. The other concern is south of here. Let me show you first. Took a little, rented a plane and flew down Cape Hatteras, down to Cape Hatteras yesterday, down the whole stretch there, and that's why we have the evacuation. Very narrow stretch of land. Highway 12 will be inundated. That's a given. This is flying south, looking towards Hatteras Island. This is from the Avon, looking down towards Hatteras Island in Buxton. That's the town on Hatteras Island. To the left is Cape Hatteras. This is just before sundown last night. So we got Hatteras Island and the communities up the coast south of Oregon Inlet. Avon, Rodanthe, all being evacuated starting today. Tourists, tomorrow morning, it'll be the locals. That is the Cape Hatteras Motel. It has seen a lot of battering, a lot of storms, and you can see the waves yesterday, long before the waves of Erin get here, are already almost lapping under the stilts there under the hotel. And no doubt it's going to go under and then take out Highway 12. Many times they have to bring out the bulldozers. That's going to be the case this time. And this is going to happen over several days as far as the inundation. Starting Tuesday night into Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, it'll back out. Then you got to get the highway reopened. So that's why we have that mandatory evacuation for Highway 12 in those areas. Back here, a sunny day, temperatures in the mid-80s, water temperatures 80. The tourists are here. The locals, well, the kids went back to school today in this area in Dare County, and eastern North Carolina, so that's going to cut down on the number of folks. Now, there are no lifeguards, Marissa and Stephen, right here where we are in this part of Kitty Hawk, but the lifeguards down at the public beach do come up here on their vehicles, on their beach vehicles, to keep an eye on everybody, and hopefully everybody, just use common sense and stay out of the water, certainly starting tomorrow. I'm sure a lot of beaches will be literally closed, meaning you can come out on the beach, soak up the sunshine, but going in the water, I've seen situations like this where they keep you out of the water, or you can only just walk ankle deep, and that's the setup we've got coming in later in the week. Even though Erin's going to be threading the needle just about midway between the Outer Banks and also Bermuda, it's the best place for it to be if it's going to thread the needle, because it's pretty much equidistant. The problem is the hurricane is growing in size, so the wind field's expanding, and as Brian mentioned, we could have wind gusts 40 plus, maybe 50 miles an hour down at the Cape and maybe even up here. So, 40 mile an hour gust doesn't really knock out the power. The bottom line, it's all about the ocean, the wave action, and there's going to be a lot of beach erosion, not only here, but up and down a good part of the East Coast.
And that's the unique thing about the Outer Banks is that if different tastes for everybody. Mike, I'm wondering, as the crow flies, because you're in Kitty Hawk, and we mentioned Dare County has those mandatory evacuations on Hatteras Island. How close are you to Hatteras? You're not too far away. It's just south of you, yeah?
It's about a 60-mile drive. Last night flying down there, it took about 25 minutes. It wasn't a long flight. I can tell you, I did calculate the distance we are from Erin right now, as of about 8 o'clock this morning, approximately 975 regular miles, 975 miles off in that direction. So it's a long way away, but again, it's churning up the ocean.
Yeah.
It's very agitated, but eventually those waves will propagate away as we call swell. That means you get the waves here before you get the wind and the actual direct wave action. So we're going to have the waves start arriving here tomorrow, even though the hurricane is still going to be hundreds and hundreds of miles away. And obviously, we'll be here on Fox Weather and Fox News throughout the week to give you what's a bird's eye view of what's going on, and very concerned about what happens to this beach and all these beaches, not only here up to Jersey, down to Florida, as far as the amount of beach erosion with this system.
I am curious to see what that beach is going to look like as we head in towards Wednesday and Thursday. And I think a key point you brought up, Highway 12, those secondary roads, the warning from emergency officials there is that you could have several feet of water covering some of these roads, so maybe impassable for several days.
Yeah.
So a story that will be prolonged the week. Mike will be checking in with you throughout the morning, and you'll be there on the ground with all of the updates through the next few days, I imagine. Fox Weather Storm Specialist Mike Seidel. Thanks, Mike. We have Fox Weather Storm Specialist Mike Seidel joining us live from Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. The mandatory evacuations, as Stephen mentioned, even down towards Hyde County, which is where we have Ocracoke, the mandatory evacuation telling people, Mike, hey, now's the time, get your stuff together, your personal belongings, if you live in these areas, and get out of the way.
Yeah, that's great advice, because this is going to be a big storm. Even though it doesn't make landfall, we've seen storms that have gone farther offshore cause serious impacts on Highway 12 and also inundate businesses and properties down in Buxton and all the way up towards Salvo and Avon and even Rodanthe. Let me show you Rodanthe. This is from the air. Flew out of Manteo last night, got a nice plane and went down towards Cape Hatteras and Rodanthe. It's about halfway there. And this is where we have the S-curve. This is a highway they built, NCDOT, and it opened 3 years ago this summer. And what they did with this is elevated the road surface, and they shut down that part of Highway 12 that was getting covered and overwashed too many times, not only with tropical systems, but also in the colder weather months with nor'easters. And it's bulldozers, and you just have to wait for, excuse me, for the water to back off and get the sand out of there. And that's what they're going to be doing this time farther down. But with the S-curve, that alleviates at least that section near P Island going into Rodanthe. But you've got homes still right on the beach there. And we showed you a video last time, but they've lost 7 homes in 4 years right there on that street that dead ends where the road was, and they took out the asphalt, and that's where the asphalt ends. So there's going to be issues, and that's why they've got the mandatory evacuations from the inlet, Oregon Inlet South, all the way to Hatteras Island, and that also includes Buxton. Back here in Kitty Hawk this morning, a pretty decent morning. Temperatures in the low 80s, heat index values in the mid to upper 80s, and there's the surf, nice and clean. about 3 footers, breaking clean out beyond the Kitty Hawk Pier. Water temperature is 80 degrees. So we watch and wait for the swell to come in. And again, the swell is just what we term waves that propagate away from a storm, and they come in here before we get the wind. Remember, the wind energy transfers down to the water surface and creates the wave action. Then the waves move away. Now, this swell will start arriving tomorrow and will come in from the southeast. The hurricane this morning was about 950, 975 miles to our south and southeast. So it's a long way away, but before it even makes its closest approach on Thursday, we will have significant impacts. Thus, the high surf advisory and the coastal flood watch kicked in just a few minutes ago, and they will stay in force through Thursday and potentially into Friday. As the storm pulls away, we'll have to watch that surf subside. I think by the weekend, it'll be safe to get back in the water. But in the meantime, best bet is to stay out of the water, certainly starting tomorrow. I've got a call into the Kitty Hawk beach and rescue surf folks, the beach lifeguards, and we're going to try to get the latest. They just had a meeting. They just finished their meeting this morning, the city folks, and all the people at Kitty Hawk to take care of the situations on the beaches. There are lifeguard chairs down by the public beach, and I'm told they've been pulled off the beach ahead of the storm. This area of the beach is monitored when they come up and down in their vehicles, but at this point, I have not seen them. And you'll notice there's a few people in the water, but not especially busy right now. A lot of kids in this part of the country have gone back to school. Prime vacation season has ended. So there you go. Stephen, Marissa, pretty decent day today. Tomorrow, not bad. And it still remains to be seen if we even get a single drop of rain from Erin because of where it's going to be going so far offshore. But wind, yes, but the major issue, the number one impact will be the surf, the huge waves, 15 to 20 feet in the surf zone, and how much of this beach we lose from beach erosion. We've got a nice rise here, and there's the dune line up there. So we've got plenty of elevation, but boy, when you have big waves and a push of water, certainly during the Thursday high tides in the morning and early evening, we could have major, major impacts, even away from Highway 12.
Yeah, easy to underestimate a hurricane that's not going to make landfall, but the Outer Banks knows all too well. You just don't underestimate the swells and the beach erosion and how significant that can be. So I am curious, Mike, how that beach is going to look by the time we get into Wednesday.
Yeah, and a good point is, I mean, none of this area is in the cone. So there you go. Just because you're not in the cone, we often talk about you get impacts well outside the cone, and this is a prime example of being outside of the cone and having significant impacts. Yes, the sun may be out all week. Yes, it may be decent to be in your beach chair at least through Wednesday, but the water is going to be a no-go. I would say starting tomorrow and certainly Wednesday and Thursday, do not go in the surf. Not only here, but from Jersey, New York, Long Island, South Shore, Jersey, all the way down to a good part of the coast of Florida. We either got rip current statements or we have high surf advisories.
Yeah.
Most of the eastern seaboard,
if
not all.
And we've already had some very dangerous moments when it comes to rip currents and even the loss of life with rip currents within the past week. So this is only going to aggravate that situation, and we'll be watching it every day as we head towards Friday. Fox Weather Storm Specialist Mike Seidel out of Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Thanks, Mike. Weather storm specialist Mike Seidel joining us live from Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. I mean, you're speaking specifically about the Outer Banks, how they'll be impacted from Kitty Hawk all the way down towards Hatteras Island. But Mike, you also heard the update, and I know you're also kind of taken back by the fact that Erin is still not just a major hurricane, it actually went up in wind speeds to 140 miles per hour.
So what that means is those stronger winds create even bigger waves. And those waves propagate away from the storm, what we call swell in wave and meteorology, wave definitions in meteorology. And that swell will be hitting the beaches here on the Outer Banks. Later tomorrow through Thursday, it'll gradually increase. It'll take a while for those bigger waves to get in here, but by Wednesday and Thursday, we're talking 15 to 20 footers here in the surf zone. What you're looking out behind the pier now, they're about 3 footers. And beyond that, it's the ocean is pretty calm. But as they say, the old cliche, the calm before the storm. We've got a few people in the water this morning. Temperatures are in the mid-80s. The water temperature is 80. I think that's not too bad. In fact, we had yoga on the beach this morning at 7:30. They have yoga out here every morning, Monday through Thursday. So what a great day get some yoga in. In fact, they finished the class before they cooled down in the surf, right at the edge of the surf here this morning at Kitty Hawk. So what are we looking forward to? Well, not really looking forward to what's coming our way. The fortunate thing is it's going to move equidistant basically between North Carolina's Outer Banks and Bermuda. So that takes away the impact of heavy rain, flash flooding, inland freshwater flooding. Remember in Floyd, how bad the inland freshwater flooding was and how many fatalities we had back in '99 in September. That's not an issue. So we'll take the rainfall out of the equation because of the distance. The number one impact by far will be right here on these beaches. Not only here, Jersey Shore, Rehoboth Beach, Ocean City, all the way down to northern Florida. Heavy surf, high surf, rip current statements already out for many of these beaches. And the winds here may kick up as high as 50 miles an hour, especially down at the Hatteras, where it sticks out a little farther to the east. But this area here, the Outer Banks, is as far east as you can get on this part of the East Coast until you get way up towards New England and Cape Cod and the areas east of Boston. So we're very prone to whatever goes by us. In fact, last year we had Ernesto go by, and that was a Cat 1 that landfalled in Bermuda. And what happened? We lost another home at Rodanthe. That was the fourth home in that was the seventh home in 4 years that fell into the ocean down there. Now, what they've done down there, we'll show you the video I grabbed last night, took a flight from Manio down the coast, down Highway 12, and you'll see this is what we call the S-curve. And that is the highway they moved. The actual highway's right out on the beach there. You can't see it anymore. They got rid of the asphalt and turned it back to a natural landscape. But the S-curve goes around and elevated. So that part of 12 now is in great shape because they don't have to worry about overwash and sand coming in and the water coming over the roadway. But there's still a lot of Highway 12 that's still very vulnerable, especially down towards Buxton, those areas. Also Avon, Salvo, all those areas, Frisco, all those beaches that have been evacuated, mandatory for tourists today and residents tomorrow at 10 a.m. So there's a lot of territory there that will be significantly impacted. No doubt 12 will be closed for at least several days, and then they'll bring out the bulldozers to get the sand out of the way. We've seen this time and time again, not only with tropical entities, but also with coastal nor'easters during the colder time of the year. But back here this morning, Marissa and Stephen, everything is, you wouldn't know anything's coming because we got sunny skies, 3-foot waves, and hardly a whiff of wind, just maybe a 1 to 2 mile an hour breeze off the water. Other than that, it's a exceptional beach day. And it will be again tomorrow. But starting tomorrow, a real threat for the rip currents and also the surf gradually coming up. And we'll be showing this evolution as we go in through Wednesday and Thursday of the waves and that swell coming in, and then the winds and the actual waves more directly caused by the wind that's hitting us here on the beaches.
I was thinking, too, people that are told to evacuate by tomorrow morning, they may not be allowed to get back to their property until the end of the week, depending on how high the water gets and when it's able to recede. So that's going to be the story, Mike.
I think it's more about not the water receding, but getting the road open from the sand. I've seen pictures before from previous storms and hurricanes, even nor'easters. It takes a while to move big piles of sand off Highway 12. So even though the water will be out of there, I think, by Friday afternoon, the problem is getting the road open from Buxton north up to the Oregon Inlet.
Yeah, I was going to say, good point. It'll be like with the bulldozers coming in before the traffic's allowed to flow again. Fox Weather Storm Specialist Mike Seidel will be there through it all. Thanks, Mike.
It looks like that's a needed thing because you talk about Highway 12 with the possibility of getting some water over the top of it by Wednesday into Thursday, right?
Yes, indeed. And I rented a plane yesterday in Manteo. We flew down there around sundown and got those pictures. And you can really see what the S-curve does. We can go back to that video if you want to. But what they did is they went around Pea Island. This opened 3 years ago. And what that did was take that part of Highway 12 out of the risk of overwash and coastal flooding and all that sand. But you still have a huge section of 12 all the way there from Oregon Inlet to the S-curve, and then from Rodanthe south, Frisco, Avon, the Buxton area, all those areas on Hatteras Island now under a mandatory evacuation for the vacationers and tourists and a mandatory for the locals 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. This is going to be a significant impact. I know you're thinking, well, it's not going to rain probably, and we're not taking a direct hit. It doesn't matter. Highway 12 gets seriously impacted with nor'easters. And last year with Ernesto, that was a Cat 1 that landfalled in Bermuda. This one's kind of splitting the difference and threading the needle between Bermuda and the Outer Banks, thank goodness, because inland impacts are going to be minimal. Once you get away from the coast, you'll have some wind. Rain is probably not even in the equation, and the wind that you get is not going to be enough to knock out power outages. So a lot of issues. There's the Cape Hatteras Motel in Buxton, and boy, I'm not sure what that's going to look like after we get past Thursday and Friday with those huge waves. It's been through a lot, but it'll be interesting to see what remains. But again, with all that sand and water, the water will get out of there Friday, and then you have the sand to get off the street and off Highway 12 into the weekend. So that's why they're saying that Highway 12 will be closed into, if not through the weekend, before they let folks back in. Right now, though, we've got a pretty decent day going for us. No increase in the surf yet. Didn't expect it today because the storm is still 950 miles away. Now, the surf will come up. The swell, those are the waves that propagate away from the storm, not directly caused by the wind locally, because we don't have any wind, and we won't have much wind either tomorrow. But boy, the swell will start to appear, and those wave heights will go up. We'll notice that first on the buoys well south and east of here, off, say, South Carolina and Georgia, the ones out in the Gulf Stream, and then we'll notice those waves coming in. So tomorrow this time, the waves will be crashing higher on the coast here. Fortunately, we've got some alto cumulus clouds coming in, blocking the sun for yours truly, because, well, I tell you what, out here it is a warm, steamy day. Mid-80s right now. Heat index is up there around 90 or so. So Marissa and Bob, keeping an eye out on the surf. That's going to be the major impact here. The surf, the crashing waves, 15 to 20 footers, and how bad these beaches take it as we get into the end of the week. Big dune line, a high dune line, fences, sea oats, but you know the power of water. You know, it doesn't take much just to move a car, let alone what it's going to do to these beaches. Not only here, but how about the Jersey Shore? Maryland and Delaware, Rehoboth, Ocean City, Wrightsville Beach, Myrtle Beach, Isle of Palms, Robert Ray's heading there. So we've got you covered up and down the coast, but many, many beaches have issues with currents, rip currents, the erosion, the big surf. And as I mentioned earlier, I wouldn't be surprised that just about every beach, if not all the beaches in this area, from, say, South Carolina to Jersey, are closed to swimming because they don't want to go in and try to get you out and put their lives on the line when we have this kind of surf and this kind of rip current impact.
It's such a good point, Mike. And the astronomical high tide's only growing. The new moon is on Friday. So, I mean, now you got the astronomical tides to talk about, too. So, Mike, good stuff out there. Can't wait to see what it looks like later on today, but then tomorrow also. Mike Seidel out there in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, one of my favorite places. Good stuff, Mike. Thanks, man.
Let's go out to Fox Weather storm specialist Mike Seidel. He's live on the ground in Kitty Hawk with the latest on this close approach. Mike, you're in a historic spot, right? But a very exposed portion of the coastline. What's the latest there?
The latest is the wave action is increasing. I noticed a difference since we got out here at 7 a.m. this morning. Waves are a little tighter, a little higher, 4 footers, and you can see them breaking way out there beyond the pier. And this is really nothing to what's coming in here starting later tomorrow as that swell, the wave action from hundreds of miles away starts to arrive on these beaches. And Wednesday and Thursday, it's going to be remarkable. I mean, talking about your photo op, the wave action, but the real crux of the problem is the wave action and the higher than normal tides. Already the high tide coming in at 4:15 is higher than it was this morning. So, and we're 2 to 3 days out from the worst of the push of the water. I want to talk about Hatteras Island in video from above, showing you how precarious these land areas are, because at Highway 12, it's a narrow corridor down to Hatteras Island. You've got towns on the way. Buxton is on Hatteras Island on the way. You've got Rodanthe and Frisco and Salvo. All those areas have been evacuated for tourists, and by 10 a.m. tomorrow for the locals. And it's just going to be a real tough situation because we're going to have several days of just massive waves. They're talking 15 to 20 footers in the surf zone, along with the coastal overwash. These are destructive waves. Just imagine the energy. You know, you move a car with about 8 to 10 inches of water. So you got 15 to 20 foot waves pounding the beaches. So there's going to be a lot of beach erosion. decimating not only these beaches, but keep in mind, this high surf is going to hit areas from northern Florida all the way up to New Jersey and the south shore of Long Island. So Nassau and Suffolk counties, the Hamptons, those areas, Montauk, yes, some of the waves will propagate your way. Not as big as these. Now, as far as our beach goes, you can see we've got some beach to give. We got a little elevation and a fairly hefty dune line. Let me show you the video from Highway. Well, it's the Virginia Dare Highway. It's not Highway 12. I shot this earlier today, and notice how high that dune line is on the right. I'm driving south back towards the hotel. Can you see that dune line? Look how high that is to the right of my vehicle. Maybe we don't have that video, but believe me, the dune line goes way up about 15 to 18 feet, and that is a really high dune line on just right out here on the highway here, just behind the hotel and these buildings. So that's how we stand in. We have some protection, but whether it can hold back the kind of wave action and surf we're going to see remains to be seen. And that coastal flood watch will probably be upgraded to a coastal flood warning. We have the high surf advisory into the end of the week, and we'll see what they do with the surge forecast as we get into Wednesday and Thursday, whether they go with some kind of surge watch and maybe a surge warning. Because you got to believe with that wave set up and that push of water and those waves, this whole beach is going to go under. It just remains to be seen what happens beyond the dunes, and we already know Highway 12, that section is in deep concern.
Yeah, no question. And we're very curious about that 5 o'clock update. We saw your temperature there, 87 degrees, Mike. One of the final weeks of summer, if not for some, the last week. Folks want to go in the water, and we know that is not going to be safe, not just where you are, where you get the greatest impact, but up and down the coastline. So it'll be cartwheels.
Oh, you should.
We saw a few of those behind you.
Yeah, you should stay out of the water. Yeah, well, you should stay out of the water. This beach isn't really, it's guarded, but it's not guarded. They come back and up and down in their dune buggies, their beach vehicles, but you really have to be careful. And I'm certain that any beach that's guarded is going to shut down, keep people out of the water, or at least no deeper than their ankles. Otherwise, they don't want to have to go in and try to save you in the kind of weather, kind of surf issues we're going to have as we get into late tomorrow, but certainly Wednesday and Thursday. And again, emphasizing all the way up to the Jersey Shore as we get into Thursday and Friday, and maybe even into parts of the weekend.
That's the key right there, an important message. Fox Weather Storm Specialist Mike Seidel will be checking back with you. Thank you.